Hello, everyone, and welcome to Jojo Runs for Congress, where we talk to our neurotic nurse.
A neurotic nurse? Okay.
Today, we will be talking about the process of how we got onto the FEC website officially, and what exactly we have to do to get on the ballot for the primary.
What a process, can I tell you? First, Jamie, would you like to introduce our guest host for today?
Sure. Today, our guest host is Simba from The Lion King.
He's looking a little haggard after almost 10 years, but...
Is he that old?
Yeah.
Wow.
9.
You got him for me.
There we go. Okay. So, Jamie, tell me, what was the worst part about this whole process of getting on the FEC website?
Wow, okay. Well, it was oddly circular seeming. As someone who we had no experience with any of this, so we just did some preliminary research on what it takes to get, how you are officially a candidate, whatever that means. We had no idea what that even meant.
Yeah, we ain't trying to break any laws here, U.S. federal government. So please forgive us if we've made a mistake.
I don't think we did. Your own agents told us we were fine. So it was weird. So on the FEC website, it said that you needed to file as a candidate when you had $5,000 in donations or expenditures. So we were like, oh, okay, well, we have neither of those, so we don't have to file. And it said, well, when you file, you need a primary campaign committee, which we were like, what does that even mean? We couldn't find a good definition of that anywhere, really. Anyway, so we were like, okay, well, if we want to get money so we can file as a candidate, then we probably need to do something with the IRS. We probably need a bank account. So we did some research on the IRS website, and things on the IRS website was pointing back to the FEC. It's like, oh, well, you need to file your thing with the FEC, and you need like the EIN, which is the employee identification number. That's for taxation purposes with the IRS. So when we were applying for the EIN, it was asking you stuff like, oh, well, what is this for? Like, what kind of entity is the EIN for, right?
Specifically, are you a nonprofit or are you a for-profit? And we are looking at each other like, good question.
Yeah. So we were like I was literally reading the United States tax code. Very, very, very interesting stuff, let me tell you, people.
Stimulating.
Truly. So I thought I had a good handle on it, but it was very confusing. So finally, Joanne was like, Jamie, can you just like call somebody? So I was like, all right.
Us millennials and our lack of phone calling.
So I called the FEC, the Federal Elections Commission. They're the people who, they run the federal elections. What do you know?
No, we called...
First we called the Pennsylvania
Department of State.
Because you thought you had to register the campaign with the state. Mm-hmm. And they said, no, this is for federal. You need to call the actual FEC. So I was like, oh, okay. So I called the FEC, and I actually spoke to someone who was extremely helpful. And in fact, because I told him what we needed. I was like, look, we're just starting up. We don't know anything about this. I'm a little confused. And he's like, before you tell me what your questions are, let me see if I can answer them before you even ask. And he I don't know how, but he knew exactly what I was going to ask. He said, you can register, you can file the 2 forms, before you raise $5,000. Like, that's not... He said the wording is a little confusing, but he's like, you don't need the $5,000. You can file to be a candidate at any point before the $5,000. And he said that as far as the IRS, he's like, you don't actually have to deal with them. He's like, because you're filing with us, all that information is going to come through us as far as taxation for the funds that you raise and spend. So from there, it's actually very easy, right? Mm-hmm. So what did we do from there?
We went on over to the irs.gov website and filed for an employee ID number, which we got immediately.
Immediately, yes.
And we discovered that if it's a political campaign committee, which falls under the category as PACs, they're a kind of non-profit.
Yeah,
You're only taxed if the money in your fundraising account gains interest. Or you're investing it, which we're like, well, we're not investing our $0 anywhere. So it was very easy. You just click other, I think. And then we got the employee ID number. Then the next day we went to the bank. We get to the bank and say, hey, we want to open up this account, which is tax-free. And they're like, oh, you need a letter of meeting minutes.
We need and bylaws.
And bylaws. Yes. So we came home. Thank God I took intro to business law in graduate school and had a mini meeting, wrote our bylaws and our minutes, went back to the bank.
Yes.
And opened a bank account.
Because with the campaign committee that you're starting, you need...
It's a business,
It's technically a business, and you need at least a treasurer and the primary officer, president, whatever you want to call it. So...
The purpose of a campaign committee is they are responsible for collecting money for you and spending money on your behalf.
Yes.
So in essence, it's a way to keep candidates accountable for the money that they're spending, because all of that information, exactly where they get the money from and what they're spending it on, is public record on the FEC.gov website.
Which is a little weird, because the candidate is allowed to be one of those two people on the primary campaign committee.
Yeah.
But whatever. Neither here nor there.
Well, there was only two of us at this point.
Right. There still kind of is.
So it was just you, the treasurer, and me, the candidate, who was also the chair of the campaign committee.
Yes. Yep. So from there we opened the bank account. No big deal. We filed on the FEC website. There's two different forms. Oddly enough, you file FEC Form 2 first, which is the Declaration of Candidacy. And then after you file that, then you can file FEC Form 1. You have a certain amount. So you have, I believe it's 10 days after the $5,000 limit to file FEC Form 2. And then from filing Form 2, you have 7 days to file Form 1. Really weird that it's backwards, but that's how it is. And Form 1 is what designates the campaign committee. And from there... You're done. You're registered.
You are officially,
as a candidate.
Yeah, you are officially registered as a candidate. But to add another layer of complexity to this whole process, even before you file to run as a candidate, there is a stipulation where you can, quote unquote, test the waters, meaning that you can raise and spend no more than $5,000.
Yes.
But testing the waters, if you say, hi, my name is Joanne, I'm Mantilla, running for Congress 2020, you are automatically considered a candidate.
Yes.
And you have to file.
It's and again, testing the waters is another thing that's like,
it's weird,
very ill-defined as well. Like, we couldn't really find anything on there that defined what testing the waters is.
Well, there's great definitions and explanations, but we would never be at that point. So I think if you have money and you want to run polls and see if people would like you, you can hire a company to test your message, test you as a candidate. Yeah, we're not doing that. No. By the nature of the budget, we were not going to do that.
But from that point, everything was pretty clear, right? We were good to go.
Yes, but that's only step one.
Yeah. So what is step 2? What does it require to actually get on the ballot, Joanne?
Oh,
the
this
primary
is the part
ballot.
That stresses me out the most.
So the primary meaning, for people who don't know, there's 2 elections. If you're running with a certain party, which we are, right?
Yes.
We're running on the Democratic ticket. You have to win your primary election for your party. And then in November, which is in the spring, and then November, you have to run. If you win, you run in the general election.
Yeah.
So what does it take to get on the primary election ballot?
To get on the primary election ballot, if you're running with a major party, you need 1,000 signatures, petitions, from registered Democratic voters in your district. You have 3 weeks from January 28th till February 18th to collect them and to bring them physically to Harrisburg.
Right.
These petitions also have to be collected by an affidavit, a circulator of some kind, which there are some requirements for their role as well. Yeah. And these petitions have to be notarized. There is nothing on Google that I've found so far that really tells you exactly what this entails. So, City of Philadelphia government, I will be calling you again.
And I guess this is different state by state.
Yes, it varies state by state. Now, I initially had wanted to run as an independent, and in order to run as an independent, I could just skip the primary and go right to the general election. They may have changed this, but you need 2% of the amount of signatures. You need 2%. The number of signatures you need to be an independent candidate is 2% of how many people voted in the previous general election.
Right, and this can be anybody who's capable of voting in your district, obviously. He's not party.
Yeah, because it's a general.
Yeah.
Which I think would be thousands more than 1,000.
Yeah, it would be hard. That would be equally as hard. So, we would have more time to do it, but it would be very difficult.
I'm assuming they intentionally make it difficult to get your name physically on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a show of organization, prowess, and if you have enough people in your campaign to support you that are willing to go out and volunteer. However, I have discovered that many politicians hire people and pay people. I think it varies on states.
Well, that's why money is so powerful in politics. For these kinds of things to get done basically instantly. And
it's so...
with no thought from the candidate.
It's wild, because what if you have a terrible... Well, there are some terrible candidates out there that literally just pay people to run their whole campaign for them. And they're just the face value. So, I mean, my thoughts on that aside, that is the 1,000 signatures is what keeps me up at night.
Right.
In a constant state
because that could be the roadblock.
Because it's possible we may not get them.
Mm-hmm.
Either because I can't organize everybody together, which I don't doubt that I can, or not enough people are willing to support my campaign and my message or don't believe in it, meaning that I'm not the right person for the district.
Yeah, but there is a bit of a positive if we don't get, not necessarily a positive, but there's a silver lining.
There's always silver lining.
If we don't get 1,000 signatures, because we did not get on the primary ballot for the Democratic Party, we are allowed to run as an independent.
Yes. You can only run as an independent if you are not registered to a specific party within 30 days before the primary, meaning that I would not be able to vote in the Democratic primary election, which I want to.
Yeah.
So
we need to consider, I mean, how important is it for us to keep running if you would run as independent, which would make things harder.
I still would run.
Yeah.
If the current incumbent Democrat makes it through the primary, fuck yeah, I'm still running. And I'm going to light a fire under his ass. You should. Look, like, all I want to do is get people talking about these issues. So it's a win-win even if I lose. It'll suck. Yes. It'll be painful. And, you know...
But you know what? House elections are every 2 years.
What are my options right now? You
can run again in 2 years then.
I can always run again in 2 years. Or I could... Find something else.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of people. Look at Stacey Abrams. I mean, she lost the election in Georgia, but now she's fighting for voting rights, voting access all across the country, and she's found something she loves and is truly passionate about as well.
And on that note, I feel like we should talk about this because a lot of people ask me why I'm running for Congress. So there are a couple facets to it. There's, let's just say there, financially, boy, would it help me pay off my student loans. I would love to be working in out in the middle of nowhere for the Indian Health Service, running and starting demonstration programs, but that would require a significant pay decrease from what I currently make and incurring a lot more risks financially, which I can't afford to do. So there's also personally, in terms of where I am in my personal life, I mean, we don't have kids right now. We're not planning to have children for a couple of years. Sorry to everybody that was anticipating that. And it's just a good time for both of us in terms of growth. In terms of my career, I'm at that point where it's time for me to take the next step. And I want to work in public as a public servant, be a public advocate. And I think the best way for me to really figure out what it is I'm passionate about and get my name out there, number one, is actually to run a campaign. My dream job is to be in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Yeah.
But logistically, it's a very difficult job to get.
Yeah. Well, let's circle back to getting onto the ballot. The 1,000 signatures that keep you up at night, as they should. It's a lot. How are we going to get them? What plans do we have? What machinations are going on in your mind?
There are no machinations in my mind.
That's not true.
I've been thinking about this constantly.
I know. So what are we going to do to get the 1,000 signatures?
So 3 weeks, let's just say 5 days, make it easy. I want to at least get 1,200. So that's divided by 3 is 400.
So 400 a week.
400 a week, meaning that we would need 400 a week. Let's just say we get 75 a day. Is that enough?
I don't know. That's math I can't do.
What's 75 times 5? Oh God. All right, that would bring...
Breaking out the calculator.
Why can't we... So 75 a day. If one person could get...
That would be enough, yes.
10 signatures...
If it's just weekdays, that'd be enough.
Yeah, one person, 10 signatures in a day. Mm-hmm. You need 75 per day. Mm-hmm. Meaning you need at least 10... I'd say we want 10 people every single day going out there on the ground, canvassing for signatures. Mm-hmm. Let's just say each of those people, if you need 10 people per day and they donate 1 day of their time, 15, 20 volunteers. If I could get 30 dedicated people to go out for 1 or 1.5 days or 2 days and go through the registered Democratic voter list and knock on people's doors and get signatures, I would cry and die of happiness.
All right, so you think that the primary technique is we need to create some sort of movement that we can get some volunteers, people who are really invested in the campaign, who are willing to give their free time to walk for us, to drive for us, to people who are registered Democrats to vote for you or to sign the petition, right? Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to our elevator pitch.
Oh, I need to take my caffeine.
Okay, the elevator pitch for today is. Oh wait, do you drink?
No, go ahead.
The elevator pitch is. What do you tell people to convince them to volunteer for you?
Tell me when my 30 seconds starts.
Ready, and begin.
We are starting a movement. We're starting a movement to change the way that representatives represent their district by giving more opportunity and power to individuals on the ground to organize their communities, to advocate for what they need. So you volunteer for this, you are in a role, you're going to be out there helping to gather all the information and the voices and the stories that we need in order to get our message to Congress and pass the legislation that our community needs. Good.
Again, you're so good. There's 5 seconds to spare. Just like the other.
I don't even know what I just said. Well, okay, this is what was in my... It's funny how sometimes when you start talking, you're just like, I forgot what I wanted to say. And that happens to me so much. But really what I wanted... Okay, let's just say you're interested in what I wanted to say. The way that volunteering for our campaign, to me, is more than just you liking me enough to say, I want to go out there and work for you. Because I can't pay you. I can pay pizza and water, but I don't have any money to pay people to canvass for me. Right. But what I can give people is the opportunity to become organizers in their own right. Yeah. And really, I mean, that boils down to my least favorite word, which is networking. The way that I want to run my House district is by bringing it back to the grassroots foundations where people that live here and work here in these communities have the power and have the ability to get their message sent all the way up the chain of command to which would be me and get it into Congress. So if there's one thing I can do, I can organize people. Oh my Lord, they're vacuuming in the hall. I can organize people. I can help give people opportunities to make a difference without having to put in the time, money, and effort required to run for Congress. Yeah. Because my favorite thing to do is give people opportunities to succeed. I love seeing people thrive, not just be alive. If we want to throw in all the weird... I can't believe they're vacuuming in the middle of our podcast.
It's fine.
Okay. That vacuum totally just threw me off the bar.
Okay. I think it's... Well, you said enough.
Okay.
You said enough.
That was not as concise as I would have liked it to be.
That's all right. You can work on it. We can workshop it.
Yes.
We can workshop it.
I mean, this whole podcast is a workshop, really.
Yeah, kinda, right? But yeah, I think... I mean, there's a few other things we could do, right, to try to get those volunteers. I think that... Or to get the signatures.
Oh, wait, no, I did have another plan.
Quickly?
Yeah. Every single night during those 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Have community town halls.
Yes.
Every night.
Yes. I think that's huge.
Every single night.
Because we want to engage the voters, right?
Yeah, because I want people to come and tell me their stories.
Yeah.
So at some point, I will figure out how and where and talk to the powers that...
Just go. Just ignore it.
To organize these town halls.
Yeah. So. I think that's important, because we want to engage the voters directly, face-to-face, right? Voice-to-voice.
I want all those faces and those stories to be in the back of my mind anytime I talk.
Yeah. So. I think this is definitely something we'll dive into further in a future episode. Mm-hmm. But I think that'll about do it for us tonight. Maybe the vacuum was the sign to end things.
Stop talking.
Thank you for tuning in to Jojo Runs for Congress. We are a daily podcast uploaded Monday through Friday. We hope that you enjoy what we're doing here. And Joanne, where can they learn about you, your social media, website, everything?
You can find me at mantilla2020.com, on Twitter at MantillaJoanne, and Instagram at Jojo Mantilla. Sorry, Dad.
And if you have if you have anything you want to say to us, don't be afraid to reach out. We're more than happy to listen to your feedback. And yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye. What a campaign.